Hi, my name's Shishi. Hello, Ron and Mary. Um, so, is there such a thing as a soulmate? Because I just think that relationships really suck, and it's just so much
Tell us how
work.
you really feel. Is there such a thing as a soulmate? Uh,
You know, the thing about that idea is that for many people, it sets up a structure in their consciousness that then becomes very, very limiting. Very, very limiting. It's like there's only one soul.
and if you don't find that one, it's a catastrophe.
I say I wish I could have 5 husbands, and then everyone can fulfill a little bit of me.
It's really not the job of the other person to fulfill you. This is one of the relationship myths. That you find fulfillment in the other person, or that they should relate with you in ways that then you'll experience fulfillment. What if fulfillment is an inside job?
See, what Mary is saying, you start to go up the soul line, everyone becomes your soulmate.
But if I'm complete myself, then that means that I don't need somebody,
Need? That's right.
and that means so then so what's the point of marriage? So much work.
I'm glad you asked that question.
But see, it's really fascinating, this whole conversation. See, because when you move into the spiritual context, we say there are really two primary purposes to relationships. One is to share the loving. You know, when you meet someone and you have that moment where you look into them and you see who they really are and your heart opens, it's like it's magical. And you're aware of the potential for sharing in that depth of intimacy and loving. Wow, an extraordinary thing. However, you know, when that happens, what we're not so aware of is while there may be all these beautiful matching energies that we're experiencing, we're seeing in the other person, and they're reflecting back to us that also reside in us. But on another level, there are also all of the unconscious patterns where we have dovetailing issues. And part of the blessing of a relationship is the opportunity to share all the loving. But when people enter deeply into a loving and committed relationship, part of the agreement between the two souls is that we are also here to assist each other in our spiritual evolution. And so we will mirror back to each other the issues that are unresolved within each other's consciousness, so that if we have the wit, we can work those issues and bring them to resolution in such a way that we really assist each other, not only in our issue resolution, but in our spiritual evolution.
See, Mary says to have the wit, in addition to the wit, you need the tools.
It's like you could enter into relationship based on ego patterns and based on a relatively superficial understanding or system of beliefs about the purpose of relationship. But what happens in those relationships is that people have an idea about how their partner should be, and then when their partner doesn't show up that way, it triggers their material, they get upset, then there's conflict and fight. That's not a very conscious relationship.
Uh-oh.
Not a bad thing. The difficult part is that it tends to be very painful. Very, very painful and very challenging.
So is there happily ever after?
Yes.
So how do I get to that? What's your secret formula? I just need to write that down.
Master the principles and practices of spiritual psychology, which involves you in being loyal to your soul.
So you never get tired of each other.
Tired of each other?
Yeah.
I can only speak for myself. My answer would be no.
And I would say no also. See, one of the biggest keys to success in intimate relationship is learning how to take personal responsibility so that you're not projecting and blaming your partner. You don't perceive them as causing your upset. Yes, they may do things that trigger you, but you don't blame them and make them wrong. You recognize this is part of the dance of conscious relationship. It's the opportunity to really learn how to show up in unconditional loving and how to take responsibility for your own stuff.
But aren't there people who are more of a match for me than
Absolutely,
others?
absolutely. We highly recommend compatibility.
Okay, so how do I
What a
find that?
concept. See, there are certain things that are what we call deal breakers. So, for example, let's say that I were thinking about starting a relationship with somebody, and it was very, very important to me that I just felt this urge inside to have children. Children had to be a part of my ideal scene. And I
Thank you.
became interested in somebody for whom it was very, very, very clear inside of them that children was something they wanted no part of. So you're at a place where there's no overlap. That's probably the worst indicator of a successful relationship coming from that. But let's say that you're someone who really likes sports. You know, it's not a make it or break. You really like sports. And you get interested in someone for them who, well, they're not crazy about sports, but it's, fine, we could do some of that. There's some overlap. As long as there's some overlap, we can work with it. The more overlap in a particular area, the less we're going to have a problem with that area in our relationship. So those are just practical guidelines having to do with compatibility.
I know. I think it's like even before I go into it, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be so much work. And I'm noticing myself having this. I'm more aware now that I have these behaviors where I just want to avoid it altogether.
That makes it more difficult.
Well, and part of it is that we actually receive very little guidance or assistance in learning how to conduct a relationship. One of the other things that's often at play is the images and memories of our parents' relationship or non-relationship. And often because of unresolved judgments that we have about them, we've actually internalized certain aspects of the relationship that we really would prefer not to repeat, but because we have judged them, they're locked in, and then we're playing them out. So one of the great keys also to freeing yourself from that unfinished business or that baggage really is letting go of the judgments that we have about our parents' relationship.
Uh-oh.
Oh my God, that is such a big thought.
Oh my God.
But see, all of this is
doable.
It's
It's
very
doable.
doable. It's a process.
Not only
You can
that,
start with your mom or your dad. It doesn't matter. You know,
Okay.
just the process of acknowledging the judgments that you have about their marriage, about each one of them in the partnership, and so on and so forth, can go a long way to clearing up a lot of stuff.
You have one really big thing on your side, is that sooner or later you will do it.
I know. I just
You sound enthused.
because I find myself at these sometimes it's like I want to work on it and then I get so overwhelmed. I just don't even want to go there. And
That's why we say, another principle at USM, growth is a process and not an event. A process that goes on over time.
okay, so I'll be working on it until I'm 80.
Well, I don't know if I would be putting that out as my affirmation. Somebody was telling me recently, I don't remember what the context was, about this couple who broke up in their 80s after being married for like 50 years because somebody decided it wasn't working.
Better late than never.
That's right.
Anything else, Shishi?
Thank you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.